First of all, thanks for coming on here, Ryan. I appreciate it. You are the CEO of Clear Path for Veterans. Give me a little bit on that. Like, tell me a little bit about that particular thing, and then we'll back up and then we'll dive deeper into how you got into it and how it helped you, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, ClearPath is an organization located in central New York providing programs and services to veterans and their families. It's at a physical location. It's on a 78-acre campus, and we provide different programs that align with the unique challenges veterans are facing. Most people know us for our service dog program, but we do a whole lot more. We also offer peer support, workforce development options. We have a DoD program called Operation Socrates that helps veterans become teachers or active service members that are actually get into the K through 12 teaching fields. We have a culinary program, and we do wellness and enrichment, so non-clinical modalities such as massage, meditation, other health and fitness, different options, all on the campus, but we're also serving nationally too. So it's not just restricted to folks that are in central New York. In New York, we do cover 33 counties, boots on the ground, but outside of New York, particularly, we're serving most service members through our Operation Socrates program, so the Troops to Teachers framework, and then through our service dog program. So we'll take veterans from anywhere across the country, fly them out to our campus, put them through about 3 weeks of training, and then they go back into their communities with a fully trained service dog.
Wow, that's awesome. Do you have any virtual programs that you can do for them? Like, I know you have the Socrates program and you fly them out for the dogs, but what about, like, they can't make it out to you, but they still need some help as far as, like, you know, maybe things they're struggling with, or do you ever offer anything like that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I mean, 2025, like most everything is on a digital platform of some sort or the other. For the last 15 years, we've been mostly direct services, meaning like we're actually meeting with people face to face where they are. This year, we're actually planning to expand digitally. So all of our content, our programmatic content, is going to be put into a online portal, which veterans can access and navigate from wherever they are. That's a next year, this year into next year project. I expect that to kick off sometime mid-year in 2026. We are looking forward to it. Now, we've never turned down a veteran, so anybody that contacts us from any state, we've even had people contact us internationally that are still actively serving in places like Okinawa and say, like, hey, I'm getting ready to get out, and I just need somebody to help me endure through what's coming next. So we're always open arms with that. As far as like self-service navigating, like asynchronous content, it's not available yet, but it will be next year.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because a lot of guys may not be as comfortable with virtual interaction, so having something, maybe a resource on there they could click on and just kind of read through, or maybe a video they could watch would be helpful. So let's back up a little bit. You, just to give everybody some context, you were in the Marines and you did 2 tours in Iraq. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Tell me a little bit about how, your decision to get in the military, and then how the military experience was for you.
Yeah, 100%. I've always wanted to be a Marine as far back as I can remember. It's just something that I kind of carved my own path for. What I would attribute that to is I was somewhat of an inhibited kid. We moved around all over the place growing up, never really put our stakes in one place for a long enough time to establish like a community. So, as a kid, you're kind of like grabbing onto the easiest thing and trying to think about, like, how do I overcome some of these challenges? Like, I don't feel strong. I don't feel confident. And the Marine Corps, like my first introduction to the Marine Corps, I had a stepfather that was a Marine. He introduced me to Full Metal Jacket, watched the movie. I'm like, oh, that's pretty badass.
Right.
And it also terrified me. I was in like 5th grade. Like, do I really want to do this? And, movie culture and stuff like that, I'll be honest, like I was all about it. Like, I just really gravitated towards military culture, warrior culture, doing something that was really going to press me and make me better on the other side of it. Joining a brotherhood, it just spoke to me in all the right ways. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to be in a combat MOS, like a lot of guys getting in. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go recon or special forces or sniper. I ended up joining the infantry, and I went right out of high school. So like the day I graduated, I was shipped off to Parris Island.
Wow.
Everything about Parris Island and what I thought it would be came the reality. I mean, it was 100% what I expected it to be.
Right.
I mean, I prepared myself mentally for it for so many years, and I was really kind of nerding out on it. I was obsessed with the Marine Corps to a point where it was probably unhealthy. I had no desire to continue in school. I sucked. Like I was terrible school wise and education, but something about like, that just wasn't my path. I wanted to be a Marine. Being a grunt definitely was something like, speaking to the recruiters, like grunts, they're the guys, they're the most badass out there. That's if you're looking to get into combat. And at the time I joined, it's 2005. So obviously we're at the height of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And I knew full well, like within a few months of me dropping to my unit, I would be deployed. And so that's exactly what we did. We deployed in 2006. Marine Corps does 7-month deployments. Most of your listeners, you probably know that too. I mean, but 7-month deployments. So it's kind of quick turnaround. We were doing workups, really, it's like,
I mean, is that boot camp. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Is that normal for an infantry unit in the Marines to go 7 months and then turn right around and do it again in the next year? Or was that kind of an anomaly for you guys, or what do you think?
It's pretty typical.
Is it really?
Units. Okay. Yeah, they're rotating in and out pretty regularly. So, and I learned so much from the Marine Corps and war itself, but I guess in reflection, the real education happened when I got out. But in the time, like, so 06, we were replacing a unit. There were 2 units that were in our area of operations before us. One got deemed combat ineffective because they lost so many guys. And like all of our senior guys were just scaring the shit out of us. They're like, we're going to get fucked up, for lack of better words. Like, this is going to be rough. It's going to be.
What location were you in? Sorry.
Habbaniyah. So Habbaniyah was on a military security route called MSR Michigan. And it was right in between Fallujah and Ramadi. It's kind of like smack right in the middle, between 15 and 30 miles, or 15 and 30 clicks in both directions. Mm-hmm. So it was, there's a lot of friction there.
Yeah.
And we, when we flew into Al Taqatum, we went to Habbaniyah, which is an old British air base that was, taken over by coalition forces. And then after like a couple weeks, we go outside the wire and we relieve in place, rip out with another unit that was there. It was 3-5 Dark Horse. And like, we were rolling out on tracks, and I remember leaving the wire in Habbaniyah thinking, like, it just felt like so surreal. Yeah. Like you're in a track, all I could honestly, like, I was thinking of Saving Private Ryan when these guys are loading up and going on Normandy, because that just was the feeling, right?
Sure.
I didn't know what to expect when the ramp dropped and everything else. Can't see anything. It's hot. You got a squad of Marines in the back of a track. We're all sitting like knees in between legs, like just packed. Man. It smelled like, the smell is what I'll never forget. Like as soon as we left the wire, the smell of like raw sewage just immediately flooded my senses. And I'll never forget like that exact smell. And we get into the city, and it felt like a long ride, but really we did not travel that far. But, tracks aren't like going 60 miles an hour down MSR Michigan. Right. We get to it's dark out. We ripped out at night. We get to our OP, which was it's called OP Bears. Everything was named after NFL teams on this MSR. And it's just like, look at this place. We get out, the ramp drops. We're all walking up to this building. It's just a house. It's like it's somebody's residence that at some point during the war, coalition forces occupied and then just built up to be an observation post right in the city, like right in the middle. We had neighbors, we had people like watching us like unload these tracks, had concertina wire and Hesco barriers all around the post, and get in there, and like, these dudes are salty. Like, I looked at the 3-5 guys, and like all our camouflage uniforms are clean. Right. We're coming in there like fresh from the States. And these guys are like, like half of them weren't wearing their tops or their blouses, and their boots are unbloused, and they're just laying on their cots. And you could just tell they're like wore out, like they've been there for 7 months, really in the thick of it, probably definitely ready to go home. Yeah. And you could tell like these guys aren't sleeping, right? Like the way we ran these OPs, and we occupied multiple OPs on MSR Michigan, it was you had a squad, maybe 2 squads, so 24 guys, like, or less on one of these posts, and you had to have 360 security at all times.
Right.
And so, like, if you weren't patrolling in the city, you were on post. So sleep was like one of those things. You get it when you can, but don't expect to get like an 8-hour sleep at all,
Right.
or showers or any of that,
Jeez.
right? And so we get there, and like, honestly, it was quiet for like the first 30 days or so,
Oh,
like
really?
maybe 45 days. There's IEDs going off for sure,
Yeah.
but like, you would be on post and you'd see an IED go off out in the distance, several clicks, and just a big plume of black smoke, and you'd report down and say, "Hey, Corporal of the Guard, just saw IED go off, 3 clicks northwest," and you just report it, and then
Yeah.
they would report it back up to their command post, and they would deploy people out to that direction. We might send out a patrol depending on where it was located. But generally, like, I just watched people coming in and around the OP. What I didn't realize then that I know now and during the deployment was they were just doing recon. Like, they
Sure.
were watching it.
Yeah. Just probing you every day. Yeah.
Yep. What are their habits? How, when do they get off post? When are they sending out guys to go on patrol? Where are they patrolling? How are they interacting with us? And it wasn't long before really shit hit the fan. Like a couple weeks after, then it was just nonstop pretty much for the rest of the deployment.
When you say nonstop, like, for those, because like I was over there, but for a lot of people, they don't know what that means. Like, and I was definitely never in a place like that. So if you feel free to elaborate on what that meant to you. I mean, because you've already talked about the sleep, which is, I mean, not having any sleep is just already a horrible thing. And then on top of it, what came next had to be just nerve wracking. So please elaborate a little bit on that.
So as they got a little bit smarter and really understand our tactics, techniques, and procedures of our unit, they started hitting us with IEDs on the regular, right in our immediate vicinity. I mean, and the thing about it is, like, we had guys on post 24/7 in multiple locations all over this MSR, and they were still able to plant these IEDs right in front of our eyes. And they had a curfew. They couldn't be out past a certain time of night or they would get shot at.
Yeah.
And they were getting really smart. I mean, they were dragging IEDs across the road, pressure plate IEDs with fishing line, and dropping them after convoys would go by because there's a big plume of sand and you couldn't see. They're just very crafty. And it's an unconventional war, like, you're not fighting a uniformed army, so you don't know who's good and who's not,
Right.
including, like, kids. You just don't know. Like, we'd go on patrol, and after a while, like, you knew something was up when your patrol would get impeded by a whole gaggle of children coming up to you begging for food and water and that kind of thing. And you kind of just got to, at some point we learned, you just got to push through. You just got to keep moving, like, get them away from you because they're trying to slow you down or get people separated. And it can happen very quickly. And the tactics of the insurgents that we're fighting there's a lot of, like, guerrilla warfare stuff. They would come out, shoot at us. It would usually be, like a primary IED followed up with small arms fire, and then they'd be gone. Like, it would be very quick. Sometimes they would be driving by a vehicle checkpoint and throw, like, a hand grenade out the car and just keep going. My first experience seeing somebody lose their life wasn't like what you would expect. So we were running a vehicle checkpoint, and these vehicles, we had rules of engagement, escalation of force drills, like things that we had to follow as these vehicles were coming up. But we were stopping people, checking their cars. We had trained legalistically for this all the way up until we deployed. So we had it all down to a science.
Sure.
And vehicle comes up and there's 2 dead guys in the back seat. I mean, I'm like, my first experience seeing this, right? I was 19 years old and I'm like, what is going on? Like, why are these guys dead? And they weren't just dead. They were, like, riddled up. They looked like they'd been through it. And this, this local Iraqi is just terrified. There's 2 guys that were alive in the front seat, and they were just like, they could tell they're trapped, right? They obviously drove up to this. There's no avoiding it. And it's like, they're screwed.
Yeah.
Not quite the same as driving up to, like, a vehicle checkpoint, domestically where you're drunk or anything like that. But what happened was these two guys tried to throw grenades out their vehicle and didn't work out for one of them, and they ended up. My understanding is this grenade went off in the back of their vehicle, and these two guys died.
Oh
And
my gosh.
so we wrapped them up. And what I mean by that, so we detained them and we brought them to our OP. And like in reflection now, I'm like 19 years old. These two guys, probably mid 30s, military age male, we call them. And
Right.
they're like just sobbing, crying. And like to me, it was hard to process exactly what was going on. Right.
Sure.
And this just repeated, from then on out. It was a combination of like small arms fire, IED attacks, guys just popping stuff out their windows, vehicle-borne IEDs, which were, in my opinion, when we were over there, some of the most dangerous things to experience because they were just catastrophic. They didn't care whether it was women or children or other people around. They would blow up their own people. The locals, we had interpreters, and our job was to obviously not make enemies. It was all about hearts and minds back then. And we talk about that all the time. I don't think we made a lot of friends, but we'd go into these places and our squad leaders or our platoon commander would sit down with some of the local higher ups and just have conversations and try to weed out where these guys were. People didn't want to talk.
Right.
And they're fearing for their own life, and understandably so. We're there for 7 months and then we're leaving. Like, they're left with whatever we leave behind. So I get it now. It's definitely frustrating back then. We also worked with the Iraqi army, and those guys are insane. I mean, I say that cautiously, but like they would be so quick to pull the trigger in any instance, right? Like we called it a death blossom. Anytime something would happen, those guys would just be shooting in all directions. Jeez. And it was a lot to manage. Didn't know whether those guys were all good or not. It just got to a point where you're really living on the edge so much that you're just like, you don't trust anybody. The only friends that you have are the brothers that you're serving with. You never know what's going to happen when you're out on patrol. Lost 14 guys on this deployment.
Yeah.
And, the weight of that, it didn't sink in for a long time. I think that it's something that takes a long time to process, especially when you've basically been programmed to go to war, leave your emotional self behind, and you do your job, and you come back, you cope however you can, and then you go back again. And that was just the cycle we were in.
Yeah.
So,
well, tell me about that. Tell me about, like, you went on that initial one in 2006. You were just in this meat grinder for 7 months. You lost 14 guys. The first initial one, you're all bright-eyed and, hard charging Marine. How were you on the second one? Like, how, I mean, obviously I'm sure you were just as hard charging, but you probably had a lot of different feelings about it, having lost all those guys and just being bombarded every day. Tell me about that. Like, what was your attitude going in the second one as opposed to the first one?
More optimistic, to be honest. Having already experienced it once, there's a part of me that was kind of excited to go back. I don't know why. Just something about it that I felt like it was a place in the world that I was finally making sense for me and the job that I was doing. Fear isn't something, fear I would be lying to you if I said like none of us experienced like some deep fear that we wouldn't make it back, because it was always a roll of the dice. And I'll be honest with you, that particular fear is probably what kind of motivated me to change my directions after my first 4 years serving. I was like, I could be easily one of these guys. It's amazing that I made it back. We deployed to Al Qaim in our second deployment, and we're doing much of the same work. It was a much different experience. So while it wasn't without any kind of friction or tension, it was there, but it was nothing like our first deployment.
Yeah.
Just very surprising to have gone back into Al Anbar province, different area of operations, but like to experience the difference that happened within that short period of time was really amazing, because we were doing the patrols and everything like that. We were working with the Iraqi police, and it just wasn't the same as that 2006 deployment. So we were blessed in that, like, we got through that, didn't lose anybody, and we still were doing combat operations, doing all the same things we were doing.
Yeah.
But we were well trained, we had experience, and it went really well.
That defines war, though. I mean, it really does. I mean, you could do 8 deployments, and that ninth one is the one you get hemmed up on, or it could be your first one and it's just horrible, like yours, and then the rest of them are just a cakewalk. It's just so weird how it all kind of shakes out. People that haven't been there and done that kind of think like it's always the bad stuff or it's always nothing, but you just never know. It's like kind of like, well, a buddy of mine, we always kind of say like either right place, right time, or wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
Or it's just just never know.
There are things that my second deployment that we allowed that I just was like, I couldn't believe,
really?
that things, the rules of engagement, everything changed. We had locals that were allowed to drive right through. Like, we were running out of a Ford operating base, my second deployment. So we weren't like in the same situation as before, but some of the locals had the right to just drive right into our fob. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is insane. Like, what are we doing? We're just asking. I couldn't believe it, but the culture changed. I get like trust currency is really important, but after that first experience, like, there was nothing in me that felt comfortable with some of the things that we were allowing over there. But I also get it. Like, the other side of war is peace, hopefully, and not always the case. I don't think we made any significant difference over there, if you were going to ask me honestly.
Nah.
It's the compromises you have to make to get towards some kind of solution. I get it, but it was definitely a hard pill to swallow.
I'll bet. On that first deployment, everybody's a suspect, and then the second one, you're just living with those guys essentially. The tricky thing is you never know when that good guy that we've already kind of vetted is just going to turn on you anyway. I mean, that's
Right.
The danger of it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my first deployment, the first firefight that I actually experienced, there's really no words to talk, like, really convey how that felt. But like, when you're getting shot at, like, everything that you think kind of goes out the window. I mean, when bullets are snapping over your head, it gets real quick. So we were on this patrol and we had a specific mission to secure a high value target north of our area of operations. And we had this 6-click patrol, which was miserable in and of itself. Still, like, it was night, but it was super hot out. And we had 2 squads that were supposed to cordon and search, which is another term for raiding a building, and
right.
And find this specific guy. And I'll never forget his name. I probably shouldn't talk about it, but like, I'll never forget this guy's name. And so we're on this patrol. I was a point man on this in 2006. I was like 145 pounds. And I don't know if that is why I was point man, but it was really easy for me to jump gates and navigate around to open, every house had a courtyard. So
Sure.
They would usually send me up over, you jump over, you're kind of alone for a minute, you open the gate so the rest of the guys can come in.
Man.
Yeah. So we're on this patrol, it's night. I was wearing night vision goggles, and there were those 7 Bravos, which are like the biggest pieces of crap.
Yeah.
But it's what the Marine Corps budget could afford. And until you picked up a team as a team leader, you would always have the 7 Bravos, and then you got the 14s. It's twisted system. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'm walking, I'm in that point, and dark out, nobody's supposed to be out, right? And so there's a guy, and I see him, I'm like, and I point to him with my infrared laser, my PEC 9 on my weapon, and I turned around, and I told the squad leader, like, I'm going after him. And I start running, and like, I couldn't see very well. I saw it good enough, and what I thought I was running on, like, just turf, like desert ground, I ran across a unimproved or a man-made septic system, and I slipped and fell into it up to like my chest. I was in human fecal matter up to my chest.
My God.
And this, so I say this because this is the reality, right? Like,
Sure.
so I'm in human shit. The only way I could get myself out, it was like quicksand. Like I had to like use my rifle to prop myself up. I had some guys pull me out, and
Oh,
I mean my camis are black from my chest down. The smell was horrible. But we had a mission, so we had to continue on. So
sure.
now, like the guy's gone, we're continuing on. I'm covered in crap, and we get to this target house. And now I'm like sweating, 120 degrees or whatever. I got all my gear on. I got poop all over me. We get to this house, and we start setting up what we're going to do. And we had a couple guys cordon off the house, so we had a team go off and pick two opposite corners of the house to watch if anybody's going to jump out the windows. And then we had a assault team go up and hit the door, and we put a donut charge on it, which is just a explosive to basically blow the handle off. And we did that. We threw a couple flashbangs in this building. Needless to say, like this was a target house. We had intel that this guy was going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Just women and kids in there. So we flashbang a bunch of civilians, and we go in there, and like it's chaos. Everybody's screaming.
Sure.
And we split everybody up, and I take my team and we go to the roof, and we took basically every house within this area, which was like 2 or 3. And so we had a squad on the outside, we had a squad on the inside. Get to the top of this roof, just sitting there, trying to wipe all the shit off of me on top of this roof, miserable, right? Yeah. And I had a thermal on my M16 above my ACOG, so I could see heat signatures as they're off in the vicinity if they're walking around, and I couldn't pick them up with the MVGs. Uh-huh. And we started taking fire from everywhere. It seemed like out of nowhere. So now, like covered in shit, we get up top. This is my first firefight. We just start taking fire, and I was on top of this roof, and I felt those bullets like coming right over my head, snapping. And I dropped so quick, and deep fear just to pop my head up. I was like, sure. If I pop my head up, I'm going to get my head blown off. Like, how easy would that be? But I did. And I'm looking around. I got this thermal on, and I'm scanning for targets. And I could see people everywhere, but I couldn't identify whether they were our guys or the insurgents that were shooting at us. And it was really, really something difficult to do. And we started laying down suppressive fire to keep these guys' heads down, and we were getting muzzle flashes in another building from far beyond. This whole thing lasted probably like, I don't know, 7 minutes, maybe.
Yeah. Quick. Yeah.
Very quick, died down. We ended up, the target that we were looking for, he got shot in the face.
Oh man.
And everything's, the lull's there. A lot of guys got away. We ended up detaining probably like 12 people that night, and get up on this guy, and he's literally still alive. And like I don't know how graphic you want me to get here, but it was unbelievable. I mean, to walk up on this scene and you see somebody that just got ripped up from crotch to head with a squad automatic weapon, AK-47 in hand, face down, brain matter on the floor, like a clear liquid, and you could see bubbles. He's still breathing. Oh, man. And what I learned from that is like the human body is incredible, what it can actually survive through. We checked his ID and everything, and found out like this is actually the guy we were looking for.
Wow.
And so then we detained all these guys, and when I say like detaining, you go back to base. It's not like a nice hunky dory walk home, right? So now, right. Like I have a guy blindfolded and flexi-cuffed, and I'm running point, and I have my arm up around his back with his collar, and I'm walking him 6 clicks back to our OP.
Jeez.
And that's just a night that I'll never forget. I walked up, and our company gunny was kind of waiting for us, and he's just like, "Semper Fi, brothers, nice job." And I was so mad. And the doc looks at me, he's like, what is all over you? And I'm like, I'm glad you asked. It's like human fecal matter. He's like, you need to go get some vaccines or something, or I don't remember what it was. I didn't end up getting anything, but yeah, that's real life. That's combat, right? Like, and it's not like, the movies have gotten better at it, but that was like as real as it gets. That's that's what it was like, and it was absolutely miserable. Not something that I feel that I gained a lot of glory from. I can't say that I'd like to do it again, to be honest with you. There is a thrill part of it, but there's also part of it that's like you just dance with death.
Yeah.
Pretty
I mean,
close.
that's what we kind of talk about. Those bullets go both ways. You know, it's Hollywood glorifies firefights, and and everybody kind of talks about it and getting in a gunfight, which it's something to be said to survive through. But it's all like it's a dangerous, harrowing kind of a situation. But not,
Yeah.
but that's a testament to you guys, like my buddies and guys like you who you fall in shit. You get up, you do your job, and you end up continuing the mission and being successful. I mean, you guys didn't give up. You didn't let it slow you down. I mean, that's commendable, and that's kind of how I think, not just Marines, but definitely Marines, the way you guys kind of do your job. I mean, it's really commendable. So based on situations like that situation, plus I'm sure you had some others, you only did 4 years. You were like, that's enough. I mean, and that's plenty, but and that's like doing 2 tours in Iraq. I mean, I've always said that Iraq was a little more gritty than Afghanistan. I mean, I did most of my time in Afghanistan, and it got harrowing a little bit. But when I went to Iraq, I was like, it was visibly different. I mean, it was a noticeably different environment. So I can understand that doing 14 months in Iraq, that's enough for any man. You know what I mean? Especially with the stuff you guys went through. So you transitioned out, but how did that affect you? Like obviously I was reading through your bio to get some information. You had a couple of struggles when you got out. I mean, you decided to get out. You said that was enough. Tell me about that. Tell me about that transition coming out, what you did after you got out of the Marines, and then, the struggles you endured. They kind of led to the clear path. So yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Just on a note of that, I always thought Afghanistan, like I was terrified of Afghanistan.
Oh, really?
We did send our unit did deploy to Afghanistan after I got out, and they lost a bunch of guys over there. And
oh man, I'm sorry.
I just heard horrible stories about the type of war that we were fighting over there. And war is war, but it's all relative.
It's so odd.
Anyway,
I mean, not to get off on a tangent, but it's odd that like I had such a different experience in Afghanistan, and it's just odd. And that, like you said, that's war. I mean, you just never know. I mean, yeah. So anyway, please go ahead.
So easiest way to describe like this transition. So 19 first deployment, I turned 21 on my second deployment. I was already fully engaged in alcoholism during my time serving. We all were.
Right.
Every single one of us. I can't name a single person that I served with that didn't have some kind of struggle with alcohol. Marine Corps was founded in a bar, so
right.
It's just embedded. But it's also for us, for me anyway. The Marine Corps didn't really boost my confidence. I got stronger for sure. I became a little bit more numb to different hard experiences and things like that. I can't say that it really made me any more resilient than I was before I joined. But I got out, and I never learned how to be an adult on the outside world. Like sure. I went from living in my mom's house to going to war. Like there was no experience of how do you get a cell phone, I got my first cell phone actually when I got out of boot camp. So I was actually like 19 or 18 years old or whatever. I just didn't know how to do life. Sure. And I thought I was going to get into law enforcement and I was going to be a cop because that seemed to be the only thing that would translate from my military experience to the outside world. Didn't work out. I couldn't find community. The only guys that I hung out with were those that I served with, and we were all engaged in the same behavior, which obviously didn't help at all.
Right.
I was drinking a fifth of whiskey every 3 days easily. So like, I felt like the only way for me to feel anything was, or not rather, to suppress all the things I didn't like about myself was through alcohol. Mm-hmm. And it was continuous. I mean, every single day. I never really woke up the next day remembering anything I did the night prior. I was getting into a lot of fights out in the public, and usually that was somebody else that I was with that started it, and then I just got dragged into it kind of thing. And I was trying to shed my identity as a veteran. I didn't really my experience of not fitting in and finding like a tribe on the outside really it was painful. I mean, I I would go to these college parties and just feel like such a stranger, like I didn't belong. And I didn't really even want to talk about the fact that I was a veteran. I tried to look anything but like a veteran, but
Right.
people knew, like everybody knew, and happened to be in a very culturally divided area in central New York. And some people really didn't like the idea that I was a veteran, and got called names and got blamed for different things. And I'm like, wow, like this is the freedom that I fought for. So all that to say, like, I'm fully engaged in alcoholism. Couldn't find community. I wasn't very interested in going to the VA and going to therapy at all. Like I tried it and I just felt misunderstood even more. I just didn't, I didn't want anybody to tell me to stop doing what I was doing either. Like I felt like I was like, I was still scoring. I was doing really well in college. Like I was, showing up 15 minutes early to every class as the military teaches us. I was paying attention, doing my homework and getting straight A's, but I was still fully torqued on alcohol every single night. Feeling empty and feeling lost in a lot of dark places. And that continued for, like 8 years.
Wow.
Really, after I got out, it wasn't until I found ClearPath. I mean, I ended up pivoting and not going down a law enforcement trajectory, but I ended up becoming an arborist. So, like,
what I mean, I read that. I was like, that's interesting. Marine arborist, and then you went to ClearPath. I'm like, how'd that happen? Like, you're just something you're interested in, or?
Well, nature is something that I always had an affinity for.
Sure.
My whole life, I loved being in the outdoors, the woods, and it just seemed like getting into. I was going to school for forestry to become an environmental conservation officer. Again, the only reason I didn't pursue that is because they would have put me in New York City if I got selected, and I just didn't really want to do a tour down there. And I got interviewed for a big tree company, and they hired me. I was getting $12 an hour dragging brush for a couple of years, like just literally wearing your headgear, your earmuffs, and just dragging brush to chippers. It was hard work. I mean, like you're working 10, 12-hour days all week. But you're with a small team, and it just felt so relatable. I was like, I get this. It's mindless. Like pick that up, throw it in the chipper and clean up. And these jobs just made sense to me. I ended up becoming a climber and then a crew leader. And I felt like, as far as from military to the civilian world, I was like, this is it. This makes sense.
Yeah.
I was wrecking my body though. I'd like to think like I'm in pretty good shape, but like my spine is wrecked. It was wrecked since I got out. I was getting MRIs at the VA, and they're saying, you got to stop. Like your spine looks like what we would see when you're 70, not when you're 30 years old or whatever, or sub 30. And it's like, well, this sucks because this is what I want to do. And now you're telling me I can't do it.
Right.
So a friend of mine was working at ClearPath, running an employment program, helping veterans find jobs. He called me up one day and said, hey, we're actually actively seeking a veteran in your area in the southern tier of New York to be a peer mentor and help other veterans navigate from military to civilian culture. And so I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, I did that. I'm doing pretty good, right? Like I'm perfect for that job.
Yeah.
The thought of it was like, maybe this is like the next chapter. This is like purpose for me to do something with all of this, take bitter experience and do something productive with it. So I applied for that job, and my interview was terrible. I can't believe they selected me, to be honest with you, but they ended up hiring me for this job as a peer mentor. And I did that for my first year at ClearPath.
Yeah. I noticed that you were like, you've been there about 9 years and change. And you went from peer mentor all the way to CEO, which is commendable. I mean, that's really awesome. You worked all your way up through the K9 program. Talk to me about that. Like, okay, so we talked about it before. You kind of went over everything that ClearPath does. The first thing that stood out to me was the K9 program. So talk to me about that. How was that? Did you were training the dogs, or were you selecting them? Like, tell me about a little bit about that K9 program.
So I was actually a recipient. I applied. I reluctantly applied to the program to be a candidate to go through it.
Okay.
Because the founder and some others were like, why aren't you doing this? Like you're a perfect candidate for this program, and it could probably be really good for you. And I didn't feel like I deserved it, to be honest with you. I was like, what? There's probably a million other veterans out there that could use this program. Who am I to pursue this incredible service? I grew up with dogs, and I've always had like an affinity for nature and dogs, like my whole life. And I knew nothing about the science of dogs or training dogs or behavior or anything like that. I knew nothing about the human animal bond and the power of it. But I applied for the program, and while I was serving as a peer mentor, I actually went through the canine program. And what I discovered through that, we just don't have enough time to talk about it all.
Sure.
But one of the biggest things takeaways I got from that program is that dogs are really a inner reflection, or a reflection of your inner emotional state. The dog that I trained with and was paired with was deeply reflecting all of my behaviors that you couldn't see, that were beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Like hypervigilance, the desire to just continue to be isolated. I could see it. And I was actually struggling through the program because I hadn't coped with all of these things yet. And all the things that I were feeling were running right down the leash to this dog. And it was very difficult for me, to be honest with you. It challenged me in ways that I didn't expect to be challenged. And through that experience, I just had this deep desire to become a dog trainer because I really, really, really enjoyed it. It was the first time I found connection with something that was alive and could understand me in ways that other people couldn't. So I ended up becoming a dog trainer, and from there on out, I became obsessed. Like, I just wanted to make this program incredible in every which way possible. I didn't have the best experience as a recipient. I'll be honest with you. I did not end up with a service dog. That dog I was placed with ended up becoming my pet. She ended up losing her life in a tragic accident.
Oh man.
And yeah, it sucked. I mean, that's a whole story in and of itself. But after that, I was like, okay, just more trauma for the bank. Let me figure out what to do with all this. Had I not gone through this program and reached these different milestones through ClearPath, I never would have quit drinking. Yeah. So right around after my first year being at ClearPath and going through all this, one being a peer mentor. So I'm a peer mentor. Here I am suffering with alcoholism, trying to help other veterans find purpose and navigate these unique challenges. And I was like, I got to take a hard look in the mirror because I'm not a good ambassador for this, candidly.
Sure.
So, and I got married, and I ended up having children after struggling with like infertility problems for several years. My kids were about a year old after my first year at ClearPath. I'm still deeply involved in alcoholism. I'm in the canine program, and I came home one night and I was shit-faced, for lack of better words. And I looked in the mirror and I just said, like, I just had like that moment where I was not happy with who I was, and everything that I was trying to do and become was inhibited by my alcoholism. Mm-hmm. So I just decided that night, this November 4th, 2017, that I was done. And I dropped the bottle, and I haven't touched it since. And I won't ever recommend anybody do it like that, because the next several months were a big struggle for me.
Yeah.
I'll say quitting drinking at that time, like, didn't resolve all my issues for sure. I just had to figure out how to become this next version of myself, because the only thing that I had to cope with was gone now. So all of the things about myself that I didn't like came right to the surface. I mean, I was an anxious mess. I couldn't speak publicly. I had trouble having like just one-on-one conversations with people. It was a real struggle, and it took a couple of years to get beyond that. So navigating my sobriety and trying to elevate this program, and it was hard, but I will say, like, one thing the Marine Corps did teach me is, like, bitter experience is the best teacher. Yeah. Took me a long time to figure that out, but because of that, like, we've been able to bring this program to a national level. It's accredited by Assistance Dogs International.
Nice.
A lot of people don't know what that is, but essentially it just says that we adhere to the highest standards in the service dog world. Mm-hmm. And veterans going through our program will receive some additional benefits from the VA as a as being a graduate from our program as well.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, really does better for the recipient. And the programs just continue to evolve from there. I mean, I was a dog trainer, program manager, program director, ended up becoming a chief program officer. And then in October of 2024, the board asked me to become the CEO. And I was like, wow, I don't feel like I deserve this, but sure. Okay, I'll do it.
You said that before, and I think that speaks to the real. I've almost said heroes, but it's kind of like that. Like that speaks to the perfect guy we need in those positions, because the guy who's gunning for it, the guy whose only focus is trying to get that position, that's not who you want in there. You want a guy like you. You've done it all. You were in the military. So you can share the experiences with the guys who are trying to come in there and get help. And then you also struggle with your own stuff, so you overcame that, and now you don't feel like you deserve it, but everybody sees it but you, and that's just the perfect guy to be in there. So yeah, I could see how they would pick you up.
Appreciate that. I mean, the disqualifying ourselves is something I think a lot of veterans do.
For sure.
One of the things I found for a lot of vets, they just want to recover their capacity to serve in some way.
Right.
I mean, I would probably say that you doing this podcast is something like that.
A little, yeah.
I know
it is.
A lot of vets out there, they're like, if law enforcement doesn't work for them, they're looking for some way to serve their community. I mean, when you swear an oath to the military to serve your country from foreign and domestic enemies, all joking aside, because I know a lot of guys I served with would laugh at me about saying that, but deep down, that's what we all want to do. We
Right.
just want to continue to fight for our country in some way. And there's a lot of things that the military left me bitter with, but I don't regret a single moment of it.
Right.
I'm grateful for every hard time, for what I experienced. Like I said, war is an amazing teacher, and I learned so much. And if I hadn't gone through that, there's no way I'd be filling the shoes that I am today, or I'd feel even less qualified. The nice thing about having experienced this now is I can really think about those that have walked in the same shoes as I have, and give them like a realistic roadmap towards their next steps. I don't want to say like recovery, but growth. Like, how can we grow beyond our circumstances?
Sure. And you got a lot of credibility in their eyes because you've been where they are. War has I've said this before, if only people could get the same clarity or same understanding of life without having to go through combat. It's almost a gift to have been there and experienced that, and then it changes your outlook on life. It changes your outlook on a lot of things. If only people could have that life-changing experience without having to go through the horrors of war. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't end either. I mean, I think there's a time to rest for sure.
Oh,
but,
100%.
You know, every day I wake up, there's something to overcome. First, it's yourself, right? Like,
Right.
You look in the mirror, you tell yourself all the things that you shouldn't be telling yourself, and then it's like, what are you going to do? Like, what's that day going to look like? Years ago, I read this book. It was by an author by Aubrey Marcus. It's called "Own the Day, Own Your Life," and it's about how to optimize your day in 24 hours. And like, that was like just another mile marker in trying to like better myself mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I carry that with me. Like, there's stuff that I do in my day. Like, even today, I woke up and, we got one of our biggest fundraisers in a couple hours, and it's a big barbecue. We're prepping for it. I could have just chilled out, relaxed, and not done some of the things I did, or I could go work out, get myself physically through something that requires pressure and overcoming. And it's those things that I think that we're meant to do. Like, the true meaning of life is to endure struggle, but the other side of that struggle is always something that's so much better.
Sure, for sure.
Not to get all philosophical, but I found so much meaning in just embracing the fact that you're going to go through something and it's going to be discomfort. Walk into it instead of trying to avoid it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, because on the other end, it makes that victory so much sweeter when you've endured so much hardship to get to it. If you get things, and I mean, this is definitely not me saying this. This is anybody will tell you, getting something easy, you don't appreciate it as much as the work you put in for it. So ClearPath, it's got some improvements on the horizons. Like, you have a cabin program they're going to implement, and some other things. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about the future of ClearPath and what people can expect.
Yeah, after 15 years of doing the work that we're doing, like I said earlier, we are expanding digitally, but we are expanding physically as well. So on the 78-acre campus, we have a lot of different facilities, including a puppy development center. We have a big great room, commercial kitchen. We have a lower level that provides access for dog training. It's getting tight, to be honest with you. Like we have reached the plateau of space we can occupy to continue to do things at the current capacity. And with our canine program pretty much exploding over the last 5 or 6 years, I mean, we have over 40 service dogs in training at any given time.
Wow.
We're looking to really triple the impact that we have right now. But in order to do that, we need to expand our campus. So we're looking to build out a dedicated canine training facility that'll have 18,000 square feet of training space, classrooms, puppy development areas, veterinary care and health areas, 30 kennels, to really just expand the footprint of what we're doing on the property right now. It's really going to be transformational just in the fact that we're able to provide between 12 and 15 service dogs nationally a year right now. And this would be able to really double or triple that amount just because of the amount of service dogs we can have on site. Having direct access to the facilities for veterinary care and that kind of thing are really, it's a big goal of ours, because right now we pretty much outsource everything.
Yeah.
And then the cabins. So we're bringing in veterans. And another thing to mention is, like, there is no cost whatsoever to a veteran or their family member engaging in our services. And I didn't mention that before, but everything we provide to veterans, we do provide to family members as well.
Wow, that's awesome.
So when a veteran's coming to the campus for training, right now we put them up in a hotel locally for the time that they're going to be with us. We provide all of their accommodations and their meals and their travel. We'd want to do that right on the property. I'm asked often, like, what's so special about ClearPath? And the location is incredible. Like, you really got to see it to feel it and experience it. There's some videos and stuff like that online, and it just doesn't do it justice. Like, when people come to the site and they get to see the view of a huge lake in rural New York. New York is not New York City.
Right.
We're like mostly farm country out here than anything else. So just to have people stay on the property in these cabins, we feel would be really incredible instead of putting them up in a hotel locally. We're making it work right now, but this is a lofty venture. We're looking at raising between $16 and $18 million to accomplish this. I believe our timeline is going to be between 3 and 5 years to get all this done. We are literally at the kickoff stage as of this week. So we are just starting this. So we are actively seeking partners, corporate donors, sponsorships, those that really want to join us in this mission of helping veterans, to continue to really, truly welcome them home and give back for their service. They did their part. Now it's our responsibility as a community to do ours. So we're really looking to just find partners out locally and nationally to help us with our mission. That's
great. Where can speaking of that, I mean, and I'll post all this stuff in the notes and on the social media. But what, maybe give a web page or some information so these guys can contact you, or what's the best way to get a hold of you guys? If, say, I'm a veteran, I just got out of the military, I want to get some job training or whatever it is. What's the best way to get a hold of you guys?
Every way possible. I always tell people, like, you can call us. We're going to pick up the phone. You can call and ask for me, and I'd be happy to talk to you. If you hear this and you're like, I want to talk to that guy, feel free to give us drop a line and give us a call. We have a info at clearpathforvets.com email. So if you're looking for like general inquiries or questions, you have all of the social media platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We have a YouTube. I mean, really, you can connect with us in so many different ways, like anything you can think of. I always tell people to call. There's a lot of contact us info on the website as well. There is a event sign up or a newsletter sign in sheet that you can get access to just to see kind of what we're doing in any given month. So we encourage you to connect with us any way you can.
Right on. Well, before we get off here, is there anything else we missed? Is there anything else you want to cover about ClearPath that we haven't addressed?
No, we covered a lot of ground. My encouragement to those out there listening that might be asking themselves, like, what's next for me? It doesn't have to be ClearPath, but there's so many resource providers out there, and there's other veterans that connect with that really care about your well-being. Take that lifeline for sure. Don't hesitate. If you're waiting on a message, this is your message. Grab a hold of it and reach out to somebody and start getting help.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, I can't thank you enough for being on here, man. This was awesome. I love this program. I think it's great. I'll do everything I can to help out and put the word out and get out to guys. And then one thing I was going to mention before, you said, you could double the amount of dogs you could offer to veterans when you build that canine training facility. It just occurred to me, there's no shortage of people that need this thing. I mean, you could triple it and quadruple it, and you would still be, there'd still be people out there needing it. So for people that are listening, if you can help, if you want to get involved with Ryan and his and Clear Path, there's always guys out there. I mean, I know I got a bunch of buddies who probably are still alive today because they have a service dog. It's just a fact. It's a really important thing to help people out. And all the other programs you guys have. I mean, I was reading through, there's so many other things that you guys do in addition to the canine thing that you just reach out to these guys. Any problem you have, they pretty much can figure it out. They'll teach you how, like the culinary thing was also another thing. They can teach you how to cook. So if you're struggling with whatever you're struggling with, get a hold of these guys. They can help you out. Ryan, thanks again, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on here. This was awesome. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, JD. I appreciate it.